framework and approved by Cabinet, and as published, does not include comprehensive sexuality education.
While Polytechnic and campus of University for Development Studies disconnected from the national grid for owing over 7 million Ghana cedis in unpaid electricity bills.
We cannot continue doing business without our customers paying us. We buy the power to distribute to our customers. So if they are not able to redeem their indebtedness, then it will be difficult for us to continue running as a company.
We'll be returning to the campus this evening to find out how students there are coping. Traders in Kumasi warn their customers to expect an increase in prices of goods and services following the upward review in a number of tariffs effective October 1.
I will not allow that deduction to go into my account. I also increase my goods to 5.5% so that I will also not incur any debt.
The Public Utilities Regulatory Commission has however justified the increase in utility tariffs.
The utilities have experienced over the quarter is close to about 80 million cedis. If we don't do anything about it, this is going to continue to pile up.
In business,
General Agricultural Workers Union GAU lauds government's decision to increase cocoa producer price by over 8% for the next crop season.
And institutes of engineers and architects to investigate building collapse at Jowolu on Saturday, which claimed 2 lives and left 9 others injured, describing as unacceptable the speed with which the debris was cleared from the site.
When there has been a fatality, we expect the police to have done their work, cordoned off the site, made sure that professional investigators are in place, and that has not been done. And to clear out the site totally is completely unacceptable.
I'm Israel Lion. Jaundice Prime comes to you live from the Jaundice studio at Kokomlimle here in Accra with digital address GA09925339. Stay tuned in. The month of October 2019 began today with a raft of tariff increases from utilities to phone calls and internet costs. The Public Utilities Regulatory Commission announced an almost 6% increase in electricity tariffs, with water also going up by over 2%, explaining a depreciation in the value of the cedi, inflation, and increase in crude prices, among others, were factors that influenced the automatic adjustment formula. Even before consumers could come to terms with the increases, the Ghana Water Company has indicated a 2% increment is woefully inadequate considering their overhead costs. While the PRC insists the price is just right. Ishmael Ejokumhene is a PRC commissioner.
As you speak right now, the exchange rate is close to 5.4, in some cases 5.5. The revenue shortfall that the utilities have experienced over the quarter is close to about 80 million cedis. If we don't do anything about it, this is going to continue to pile up, and then you are not talking about marginal increase, but you'll be looking at major increases even before the end of the major review. So everything that PRC is doing is very transparent, and I am surprised that the Honorable Jinafo is bringing PRC into his politics. How is he saying that tariffs should remain where they are? If you do what he's saying we should be doing, that's how come we were in doomsday for all those years. The energy sector has to recover. Unless somebody is bringing money to recover any shortfall, the sector will have to be able to pay for itself. We are saddled with debts in excess of, nobody even knows the exact amount, close to $3 billion. Do we want to be adding to that? At the end of it all, it's the same Ghanaians, the bonds that they are taking, you and I are going to pay for that. Why can't we delink politics from what is going on and speak the truth so that we don't create confusion for everybody to solve in the future?
Now, the Communication Service Tax CST announced by Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta also took effect today. The Finance Minister explained the objective of the increase is to develop the foundation for the creation of a viable technology ecosystem in the country. A statement by the Ghana Chamber of Telecoms indicated that 9% tax will be borne fully by consumers. We have a breakdown of how the charges will B. So it says, dear customer, with an increase in communication service tax CST to 9%, effective October 1, 2019, CST of 9% to be applied to every recharge. Thank you. Text to a Vodafone Ghana user rep. So this is what has been put out by Vodafone Ghana. Now, if you purchase 2 CDs airtime, you will receive 1 CD 82 pesos airtime, or 5 CDs will leave the customer with 4 CDs 55 pesos. When a client buys 10 CDs, the customer will have 9 CDs 10 pesos for purchase of products and services. And 20 CDs airtime will leave you with 18 CDs 20 pesos worth of airtime. When you buy a 50 CD voucher, you will get 45 CDs 50 pesos for products and services. So this is how the CST will apply to you, as far as we have them from Vodafone and MTN. Now, residents and some members of the business community in Kumasi say they are compelled to increase the prices of their goods and services following the recent increases in tariffs. Prince Apia has been engaging some of them in Kumasi.
When I buy like 100 cedis worth of electricity, I'm going to deduct it, which I will not allow that deduction to go into my account. So I have to add it to my bill has been increased to 5.5%. Definitely, I also increase my goods to 5.5% so that I will also not incur any debt.
We use both water and electricity. We fear patronage of our work will decline, but we have no option than to increase our services. It will be gradual.
Fuel and transport fares have been increased, and now electricity. We charge 8 cedis per cut, though they say it's expensive. Government must reconsider the utility prices.
Already, people are complaining of no money in the system, but we are planning to increase our services, else you will run at a loss.
Well, so not sure how this actually, the increase in utility tariffs actually applies to confectionery, but the price for fine yogo and fine ice, which was formerly sold at 1 cedi, will sell at 1 cedi 20 pesos, whilst the price of fine ice 250 ml goes for 5 cedis. We have been speaking with some consumers and vendors of what they make, about what they make of all of this.
Today, to start increasing the family price, the market is go low. By the first, we are selling to 1 cedi. By 1 cedi, our profit is too small. We have for 60 pesos for inside. It's inside. So right now they increase it 1 cedi 20 pesos. Our own can be 20 pesos. This one is better, but the market is not going on. But we're supposed to sell it to 1 cedi. But if there is 1 cedi, I will not have anything. You will buy rubber and even Piata, one is 20 pesos. How can you get money to do these all things? That's why. And one thing, tax to the increase it. That's why we are increasing 1 cedi 20 pesos.
I think it came as a surprise to some of us because I quite remember fine milk came when it was being sold, it was 80 pesos. Then all of a sudden went to 1 cedi. Now 1 cedi 20 pesos. Well, it's a cost of living. The cost of living in Ghana now is high.
I think it's good because farm milk pays tax to the government, and the government in turn pays for our free HHS scheme. So I think it's good.
I was a bit shaky when I heard it. I also read it online. So when I read it, I said, hey, what is happening? If electricity, the utility bills, there has been an increment. And then Fun Ice for me, I like it a lot. But I don't know whether it's because of the label that now the label, they have changed even the pack. So maybe because there have been increments in the utility tariffs, that's why maybe the Fun Ice price has also been increased. But what I would plead is that they should work it out, because some of us, it will affect us. I'm going to reduce it because even transportation, there have been some increments. So I'm going to check my intake of Fun Ice.
Fan milk costs 1 cedi. Since the time I was born, that is how I used to buy it. But having this new price will really affect us. And then we all know the increments in fares and, buying airtime and then slashing some percent off. It is not helping. So I think they should do something about it.
Elsewhere, the WA Polytechnic and the WA campus of the University for Development Studies have had the electricity supply disconnected for non-payment of bills. According to the Northern Electricity Distribution Company, NEDCO, the two owe some 7 million Ghana cedis for power consumed for over a decade now. The WA Polytechnic said to have not paid for electricity consumed since it was upgraded to a higher national diploma awarding institution in 2007, accumulating a little over 4 million Ghana cedis in unpaid bills, while the WA campus of the University for Development Studies also owes 3 million Ghana cedis. Joining us, Upper West correspondent Rafiq Salam reports from WA.
The special disconnection exercise embarked on by the Northern Electricity Distribution Company is as a result of huge debt owed to the company by their customers, notable among them government institutions and some private companies. Some of these institutions for over 10 years have failed to settle their indebtedness. Despite the persistent notification, encouragement and intervention from the Public Utility Regulatory Commission to enable them settle their indebtedness to avoid disconnection, it however proved futile.
The institutions and some of our customers owe us so much, and we are in business. We cannot continue doing business without our customers paying us. We buy their power to distribute to our customers. So if they are not able to redeem their indebtedness, then it will be difficult for us to continue running as a company.
Northern Electricity Distribution Company therefore has no option than to go all out for the special disconnection exercise. The first place visited was the 36 unit block of the WA campus of the University for Development Studies, UDS, located at Walasombo. The university since 2013 has not honored any bill sent to them by the VRA NEDCO. As a result of that, accumulated bills owed the company amounted to 3 million Ghana cedis. Technician engineer Wandelen Komleche first led a team of handful of engineers to disconnect the two-story building that serves as the administration for the School of Business and Law and lecture halls. They disconnected the two-story block from the electricity pole located a few meters away from the road. The team later walked upstairs and to the first floor to pick the reading of the conventional meter before leaving. They also visited the main UDS Bamahu campus to continue the exercise. They disconnected power of all lecture halls and the administration block of the various facilities. The only facilities that were spared were the hall of residence. The lecturers and the students were not immediately available for comment. The next place that incurred the wrath of VRA NEDCO was the WA Polytechnic. Since its establishment as a higher national diploma awarding institution 12 years ago, they have never paid a penny to the company. The money owed NEDCO is a staggering 4 million Ghana cedis. They disconnected the power of the main administration and the lecture halls from the takeoff of the transformer. Idris Umulimpo Mohammed is the acting rector of the WA Polytechnic.
To the Minister of Finance and gave us a copy of the transmitter letter and then a copy for the NEDCO, which we submitted to them, expecting that the Minister of Finance will do the needful by paying. Unfortunately, up to this point, I think they have not paid. And so they have given us a fresh demand And at that time, the time that we sent it, the amount was about 3.9. Now it is 4016,851.38 Ghana cedis, which is the cumulative bill from 2007 to date. The institution, as a small institution, normally we don't have enough IGF to pay, even though we have been told that we have to start looking at how we can pay our own water and electricity bills.
For now, the biggest public institutions in the region are without power, and for it to be restored, VRNERCO says they should at least settle part of the colossal amount of 7 million Ghana cedis owed them.
I think our management have a dialogue with them on some occasions, so it's about them coming up. They should come up with some payment plan, and I think we are all humans, and they need to do something so that we can restore power to them. It's the money we are looking for. So if they are able to make some commitment, I think power will be restored to them.
Reporting for Joy News, Rafiq Salam. Wow.
And we will be returning to the campuses of the two institutions to find out how students are coping with the power outage. But in other news, in what appears to be a final attempt to lay issues relating to the comprehensive sexuality education controversy to rest, the Education Ministry has completely dissociated itself from all publications in circulation on the subject. Officials of the ministry and the Ghana Education Service in the last few days have been making strenuous efforts to quash speculations that the course was part of a grand agenda to expose Ghanaian children to LGBT rights. But the minister, at a news conference in Accra, said the supposed guidelines in circulation on how the subject will be taught has not been approved for use. Dr. Matthew Opoku Prempeh maintained the National Council for Curriculum Assessment has not submitted to the ministry any document relating to TSE. Colonel Adom has more.
The subject of sexuality education has become a very important matter, particularly for the youth in our societies. Indeed, the changing societal context, characterized by the free flow of information, media pluralism, and the social media, has necessitated the need for education systems to provide accurate information of sexuality education. We in Ghana have a guideline that I've shared with you that we see it is imperative if this nation should develop that sexuality education should be part of the curricula that we would launch this year in September, all the way from kindergarten to senior high school.
That was Education Minister Dr. Matthew Opoku Prempeh at an event in February this year. The event, organized by UNESCO, was to empower adolescents and young people to deepen their scope of existing activities to attain a comprehensive sexuality education. At a news conference Tuesday, however, the minister appeared to backtrack on his comments earlier this year.
We were launching a program of UNESCO. That program is not comprehensive sexual education. It's O3, our rights, our values, and the third O, and our world or something. That is it. Our rights, our values, our rights, and our world. That is a program that, if you read what you read carefully, everybody heard sexual and reproductive health. So UNESCO comes to launch a product here. So that adolescent and reproductive health, if you leave here now and you go, you will get a document on adolescent and reproductive health. That includes sex education or sexual education. As somebody said, the name comprehensive is what people are battling with. Sex education has been part of the curriculum in Ghana since the 1940s. The Ministry of Health, or for that, the Ministry of Information, goes around and is educating the public on our civic rights. Does it mean that civic rights is in my curriculum? It may be, but it doesn't mean so. So people should get the distinction, because this distinction has a difference.
In what the ministry says is a clear-the-air address on the controversial subjects, thought to be a subtle way of introducing lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender elements into the curriculum for basic schools, the minister says no such document has been approved for use.
The curriculum that has been developed out of the framework for use by Ghana Education Service in all public schools and approved by Cabinet and as published does not include comprehensive sexuality education.
Asked about a comprehensive sexuality education guideline document making rounds purporting to be from the Ghana Education Service, the minister said as far as he's concerned, there's no document from his ministry and none has been approved for use anywhere.
Show Ghanaians where this is the Ministry of Education's official document.
GES is a branch of Ministry of Education itself.
This document on comprehensive sexual education is not part of the curriculum. You use the word National Population Council, not Ministry of Education. In fact, adolescent sexual reproductive health. That document that has been done by PPAG, UNFPA, has got nothing to do with the curriculum we are running as Ministry of Education.
Dr. Matthew Opoku Prempeh also added the training for teachers for the rollout of a new curriculum did not include things relating to comprehensive sexuality education.
So 152,000 teachers have been trained for the new curriculum that started this September. And no teacher was trained on comprehensive sexuality education. Teacher resource packs have been printed and distributed to all teachers trained on how to engage the students or the pupils on the new curricula. And no teacher complained or has raised an issue that comprehensive sexuality education was part of the training.
He has also been urging faith-based groups and civil society organizations to critically study the documents before commenting on the issues publicly.
We appeal to the general public and all faith-based organizations to exercise restraint and verify facts of official government policy before making public pronouncements. The nation should be rest assured that the government and the ministry will not compromise our societal values in the delivery of quality education.
Now, the Institutes of Engineering and Architects have described as unacceptable the speed with which debris from a collapsed building at Jowlu here in Accra was cleared. The Ayawaso West Municipal Assembly moved in to clear the rubble from the compound of the Jowlu School on Sunday, barely 24 hours after the tragedy in which 2 people were killed and 9 others injured. The 2 professional bodies have been visiting the site to begin an inquest into the building collapse. Komladom has more.
Barely 24 hours after a one-story structure collapsed on the Jowlu Primary School compound, officials of the Ayawaso West Municipal Assembly moved in to clear the debris. By Monday, school was in session and the rubble completely cleared. 2 persons died during the disaster, while 9 others were injured. While the Assembly opens investigations into the incident, the Institutes of Engineering and Architects are raising concerns over the speed with which the debris was cleared. President of the Institute of Architects, Richard Dade, tells Joy News the area should have been cordoned off for professionals to carry out investigations into the cause of a collapse.
Anytime you have some deaths occurring on any site, one, you need to cordon off the site, secure it, so you can investigate. Again, the state of the building, as seen when the collapse came, is what would inform us as to one of the reasons for the collapse. So it's very important that it's left intact until professional investigations have been carried out before the debris is cleared from the site. It's very important, and we are very disappointed that within a very short period, all this was cleared.
During a visit to the site, very little by way of traces of block material and metalworks could be seen. This, according to the Institute, is a cause for worry, considering 2 lives were lost in the disaster.
We don't know whether there's adequate documentation in terms of photographs and so on. Would have liked to look at even the materials that were used for constructing, do an analysis of the concrete, aggregates, etc., all the materials, look at the reinforcements. And then when a building collapses like that, you can see where the beams fell and so on. So you can tell, and you analyze each of them separately to tell you what the issue is. But as it is now, we don't have too much to go with.
Executive Director of Institute of Engineering, Kwabna Ejepong, however, says though the building materials and other debris have been cleared, the 2 institutions would carry out an inquest into the cause of the collapse. He has also been faulting the police for allowing evidence to be compromised.
When you want to conduct investigations, this kind of events, you need to see the failure modes. You have professionals who take the right pictures and that kind of stuff. And we are really worried about the fact that the Assembly chose to allow this to go on. The police also looked unconcerned for this to happen, and it's not right.
The two bodies, after meeting Municipal Chief Executive of the Ayawaso West Municipal Assembly, expressed disappointment over the way the aftermath of a disaster was handled.
As we speak, as I said, we have just come to find out who is in charge of the investigation. These are technical matters that require technical minds, and we don't want to come to conclusions unless we can certify for ourselves what exactly happened. We haven't seen the drawings, we haven't seen the certifications, we haven't seen the engineer or the architect in charge of the project. So when you have all those details, you'll be able to tell when concrete was cast, whether it is set. I mean, those things you can only determine when you have the information that you require. That's why we're a bit worried that we're very hasty in clearing out the site.
The bodies hope to conclude their inquest into the incident in 3 weeks to trigger reforms at the Assembly to forestall future incidents.
Doctors at Konfanochi Teaching Hospital are reporting increasing cases of jaundice among newborns, resulting in up to 10% deaths every month. The condition, said to be caused by blood incompatibility between mother and baby, as well as breastfeeding shortfalls, is the fourth killer at the facility. Nana Asenso-Mensah reports.
Jaundice manifests in the yellowing of patients' eye and skin. Severe forms pose potential risk to brain development, resulting in death and other irreversible consequences. All age groups are susceptible to jaundice, but neonates are particularly at risk. Neonatal jaundice affects about 60% of 130 million babies born worldwide every year. Medical experts say treatment is difficult, but like many other conditions, early detection provides hope for survival. World Health Organization puts survival rates up to 2/3 if the condition is detected early and measures taken, especially in the first week of birth. At the Konfanochi Hospital Mother and Baby Unit, 15% to 25% of 400 to 500 babies born averagely every month go into admission for neonatal jaundice. Dr. Nana Brobe is neonatologist at the Mother and Baby Unit.
Data here, and it's anything between 15 to about 35% of admissions, roughly. Yeah, we get quite a number of jaundiced babies coming in, and at all ranges. We have the simple jaundice babies who are seemingly well and just yellow in color, and then those who come in with complicated jaundice. So they show signs of complications like not feeding at all, not breathing, having seizures, having abnormal postures, to the very simple ones like I mentioned. So basically it's pretty common. One of the commonest causes would be incompatibilities between the blood groups of the parents. So especially if the mother is O and then the father is either A or B, and then the baby takes after the father's blood group. So then the mother's blood recognizes the baby's own as kind of foreign, and then it starts fighting or producing antibodies towards the baby's blood groups, and then the baby's blood tends to start breaking down.
Dr. Nana Brobe says intensified education through outreach programs are the way out. Sure. Meanwhile, the local chapter of Christian Medical Students Association has launched a project to create awareness. It is dubbed Clear the Yellow, Save a Baby. Ajwa Adujenfiajiman speaks for the association.
This year we chose neonatal jaundice because the treatments for neonatal jaundice is very easy, but the complications are huge. A lot of children in our parts of the world are dying from neonatal jaundice, and this is not the case outside. So we were like, why not create awareness? Because if we create awareness and mothers are able to bring their children to the hospital early, all these complications will not happen. So that's the reason why we went in for this project.
For Joy News, Nana Asenso-Mensah, Kumasi.
President Akufo-Addo is being urged by researchers at the Institute of Statistical, Social and Economic Research, ISA, to deal with the challenges facing the Office of the Special Prosecutor. A study carried out by ISA finds that the office is not meeting the expectations of citizens of fighting corruption. Mr. Amidu, in a recent interview, alleged that the Attorney General had attempted to pass legislation that would make him ineffective. ISA, in its Outlook report, says the challenges confronting the challenges confronting the office must be addressed. There's more in the following report by Joseph Akable.
President Akufo-Addo in January 2018 named Martin Amidu as Ghana's first special prosecutor. The last 21 months has seen Mr. Amidu speak about the challenges confronting his office on many occasions. ISA, in its 2018 Social Development Outlook, says this is making it difficult for Mr. Amidu to meet expectations.
Where politicians will have to make room for the technocrats to work.
Who should lead that charge to deal with a bit of political interference?
Appointing authority is the president, so he has to show what is more important to him and give direction on that regard. You don't have to be friends to work. You just have to be professional at your work.
On education, government is being urged to review its senior high school program.
It is asking the government to re-examine the implementation of that extension of basic education because it poses certain challenges of equity and sustainability. When free and tuition-free education is offered to all students regardless of need, rather than targeting disadvantaged students, problems of equity comes in, and then how do we sustain the policy? How do we finance the policy?
Other sectors such as health, energy and work also received some attention from ISA.
With the introduction of free secondary school and the congestion because of increased enrollment, the spread of contagious diseases is a real health threat. The gender equality chapter makes the point that the national legislation and policies on gender equality should be made immediately functional, otherwise they remain ineffective, no matter how progressive the legislation is.
The research institution will later this year launch another report, this time focusing on Ghana's economy.
Ghana on a daily basis generates 3,000 tons of plastic waste, but is able to recycle only a small percentage. The rest is the unpleasant littering you see around. But despite the health implications of plastic waste to both humans and the environment, government says it has no intention to embark on a wholesale ban of plastics. Instead, the Environment, Science and Technology Minister, Professor Kwabena Frimpong-Boateng, says under a national plastic management policy, the state will be making money from waste. He was addressing an international conference on plastic waste in Accra.
In Ghana, over 3,000 tons of waste from plastics are generated across the country every day. And this constitutes 14% of the entire municipal solid waste accumulated in our country. Within the Accra metropolitan area, including Accra-Tema Sea shore or the coastal line, 35.6% of the total waste is plastics. And as we heard already, only about 2.5% of plastic waste is recycled. And this is done almost entirely by the informal sector. A few of the former state waste management companies recover modest quantities of plastics in Accra and attempt to export them as scrap. These companies are unable to collect enough quantities to compete on the international market. At the same time, pre-processing facilities to turn plastic waste into flakes or pellets are critically lacking, not only in Accra, but in the nation as a whole. The net effect of this is that our surroundings are littered with plastics, and our drainage systems are choked most of the time. When it rains or when the wind blows, our beaches and oceans become the dumping sites for plastic debris, and severe flooding occurs in several locations within the cities and other settlements under heavy rainfall. That is why in 2017, shortly after he took office, His Excellency the President raised the issue of plastic waste and its management to the highest level of his priority list.
We soon realized that these problems were compounded by lack of education, awareness and sensitization, limited and uncontrolled dump size, and insufficient and improper collection of waste. We received our marching orders to confront these challenges. We decided to take a long-term view and to ensure that we salvage opportunities out of the threats that these challenges pose for us.
Professor Frimpong Boateng also announced areas identified to make use of the plastic waste generated.
When fully realized, the plans outlined in the policy will unlock economic incentives for source separation, collection, processing, and recycling of plastic waste into valuable resources, generating revenue estimated at $400 million per year. It will also create jobs, the majority of which will be for the most vulnerable in our society, including men, women, children, the elderly, the disabled, immigrants, and the urban poor. The research that informed this policy identified local and foreign entrepreneurs who have demonstrated various recovery models and recycling technologies best suited for Ghana's local concept and the current state of our national development. Waste plastics can be recycled into high-value products needed in Ghana and within the Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS.
The National Plastic Waste Management Policy was developed in 2017. With the policy adopted, Ghana becomes the first African country to join Global Plastic Action Partnership. The move seeks to combine forces with this ambitious new initiative dedicated to eradicating plastic waste and pollution worldwide. President Akufo-Addo indicated the policy will reduce reliance on the use of plastic and promote its replacement with green alternatives.
Ghana's plastic management policy is not focused only on how to address plastic waste, but takes also a holistic view of the entire value chain of plastics and seeks to achieve several objectives. Amongst them, the principal ones are to develop a working circular economy framework for plastics in Ghana, to reduce our reliance on the use of plastics and promote their replacement with green alternatives, to nurture the development of new business models for job creation throughout the value chain, to develop systems and infrastructure across the country that will ensure that we're not littering our plastic waste, but using them as resources for value addition, and to ensure that Ghana has a long-term and sustainable means of funding plastic waste management. Government is hopeful that through our partnership with GPAP, these objectives and indeed many more will be achieved. We also seek through this partnership to take a historic step forward in our environmental stewardship, our sustainable growth, and our vision for Ghana's future. Our nation is brimming with extraordinary wealth of expertise, knowledge, innovation, social enterprise, and willpower to take on this issue. Across every sector, from local governments to waste management pioneers to young student leaders, Ghanaians are actively contributing to the fight against plastic pollution. We're thus pleased to partner with the Global Plastic Action Partnership to bring together existing efforts, scale up their highly successful initiatives, and fast-track our progress towards that collective goal, which is to achieve zero leakage of plastic waste into our oceans and waterways.
Government has officially launched a series of platforms to encourage the general public to report incidents of cybercrime and cybersecurity breaches. The initiative, dubbed the Cybercrime Incident Reporting Point of Contact, is geared towards the proper handling of crimes perpetrated online. According to Minister of Communications Ursula Owusu-Ekufo, the platform was developed in collaboration with the National Cybercrime Center, Ghana Police Service, and Internet service providers, among others.
It is for this reason that we're gathered here today, to formally announce the launch of the Cybersecurity Awareness Month for 2019 and the Cybercrime Cybersecurity Incident Reporting Points of Contact, a platform that will facilitate reporting of cybercrimes and cybersecurity incidents. Ladies and gentlemen, in 2017, the Ministry of Communications, with the support of the National Communications Authority and the World Bank, established a National Cybersecurity Center to coordinate national cybersecurity activities in support of the government and the private sector. One of its key deliverables was the establishment of a National Computer Emergency Response Team based on direct linkage with other sectoral sets, including the telecommunications sector sets. These three sets, which are the Computer Emergency Response Teams, are currently operational, and they are contributing to securing our networks and IT systems in these various sectors. Other sectoral sets will be established in due course and connected to this platform. The establishment of the various points of contact for cybercrime and cybersecurity incidents reporting as part of the Safer Digital Ghana campaign is being launched to further enhance the collaborative work among the sectoral sets, but most importantly, they are designed to provide effective mechanisms for citizens to report suspected and identified cybersecurity incidents. These points of contact cut across all demographics: government, private sector, the public, and children. The multi-platform approach was carefully adopted to provide multiple channels through which incidents can be reported to the National Cybersecurity Center. Through the use of email, which is targeted at the corporate and government sectors, especially those who have a need to document exchanges for reference purposes. People in the corporate and government sector who have no need for referencing may opt to fill the online forms, which is another mechanism of reporting incidents. We also know that a significant percentage of the demographic are the youth, and so a WhatsApp point of contact is also available, targeting them amongst other socially inclined citizens. A voice call mechanism is also available, targeting children, businesses, government, and individuals who are less tech savvy, and citizens who do not possess smartphones or have access to the internet.
A female parliamentary aspirant is urging her peers to use the upcoming district assembly elections and next year's parliamentary polls to increase female representation in decision-making. Sekino Forewa has picked nomination form seeking to represent the NDC at Echuma Mpunya in the race for 2020. She advises women to take up the challenge of influencing policy formulation and implementation in the country. Nana Sensumensa has more on this report.
The age-old relegation of women to the background in community and national politics has been widely discussed. Global efforts to reverse this trend has, however, achieved little in places like Ghana for various reasons. Though attempts have been made in recent times to appoint females into key public leadership. Out of Ghana's 275-member parliament, women are less than 40. Even at the local government level, just about few women hold elective mandate in the metropolitan, municipal and district assemblies as compared to their male counterparts. Madam Ofoewa believes it is time for more women to take up the mantle themselves to give a balance for sustainable development.
I do, because women, we are the major population in Ghana, and we have to involve ourselves in Ghana politics. If you go to our various houses, it's women who take control in our houses. We cook for our family, and after cooking, we make sure that we share the food accordingly for each and everyone in the family to be able to get something to eat. So if women can be able to manage their home, then we will transfer that one to the constituency level and Ghana as a whole. So I'm encouraging women, those who are thinking or those who have the ambition to come out to contest for the parliamentary candidate, they should not be sterilized or they shouldn't be camped by the men. No, they should come forward and follow the bold steps that I'm making. They should be bold, so that at the end of the day, women in this country, we will be able to voice out to help our mother Ghana.
Madam Ofoewa urges governments to create a level playing ground to enable women compete.
And Ghana, as Even for me, I experienced that they said that Muslim doesn't allow women to lead. Muslims are this, Muslims are that. No, it's in the religion when we are praying. It's there that we don't allow women to lead prayers. But when it comes that it's only the woman who has knowledge in Quran, for even that, they allow women to lead. So they shouldn't allow our traditional beliefs to stop us. No, women, we can lead and we can do better. So they shouldn't scare.
For Joy News, Nana Asensu Mensah, Kumasi.
Well, the Wa Polytechnic and the Wa campus of the University for Development Studies have had the electricity supply disconnected for non-payment of bills. According to the Northern Electricity Distribution Company, the two owe some 7 million Ghana cedis for power consumed for over a decade now. One of the students Joy News has been speaking with says the outage or the disconnection is having a negative toll on teaching and learning.
Looking at the current situation of this electricity issue, even students right now are still undergoing their registration process. And if the LICE or VRA, they are not able to fix the LICE problem, I think those students will be cut off. And if the deadline is due and they are not able to meet their verification and the registration as well, then it means that those people either they will defer their course for next academic year, or there will be other things. So we plead that maybe VRA will come to our aid and assist us.
Now, 4 multimedia journalists have been nominated for the West Africa Media Excellence Awards. Joy News' Beryl Ernestina Richter, Justice Baidu, Seth Kwame Wating, and Emmanuel Kwesi Debra are 4 of the 21 finalists who beat off stiff competition from other journalists in 15 countries across West Africa. According to organizers, this year's competition attracted 724 entries, which represents an increase of over 100 from 2018 600 entries. The West Africa Media Excellence Conference and Awards is an annual initiative of the Media Foundation for West Africa to promote media excellence in the sub-region. The event comes off on Saturday, October 19, 2019. Thank you very much for watching. You have a good night.